Hello and welcome. I'm Psychic Medium Roberto, and in this episode I'm going to be looking at Bryan Kohberger, who is the person of interest in the Idaho murders and was arrested yesterday or arraigned yesterday. And we're going to do this as profile by numbers. All right, let me take a moment to focus and tune in. Alright, so we have Bryan here, who was arrested as a person of interest for this crime. So what I've done is I've put his name here with his middle name as well as his last name, his age and his date of birth. So I'm going to be looking at his numbers in comparison to the day of the murder, November the 13th, 2022, as well as the 4 victims in this case: Madison, Kaylee, Zayna, and Ethan. Now, when I look at this as a whole, I'm not getting a full picture here, to be quite honest. And it's not that I don't have all the information. I have enough information here, but what I'm seeing is I still believe that there were 2 people on scene committing this crime. And this was compounded by the fact that when I look at Bryan's date of birth and his name, there's not many matches, which is unusual in this situation. And the reason for that is where the impact of the day affects particular people, we should see similar numbers, or at least a flux of similar numbers. And I'm not seeing this here, to be quite honest. Now, I'm not saying Bryan is not the person involved. He could definitely have been involved, and we'll get into his profile now. But if I just look at Bryan on his own with his date of birth and the day of the event, it doesn't complete the picture. Okay, so I'm still of the belief, and the vision that I saw of Ethan and Zayna, that's the original image that I received where Zayna had actually woken up during the attack. I'm definitely getting the presence of 2 people in that room, apart from Ethan and Zayna, of course. There were definitely 2 people there. All right, let's look at Bryan. What I see here with regards to him. Now, his date of birth, November 21, 1994. I can tell you this guy is a problem. Straight off the bat, I can tell you this guy is a problem. We've got the 11-2, which is from the November. We have the 21-3, which is obviously the day that he's born, 21. And the year that he was born in, 1994, which outcome is a 5. And he was 27 at the time of the incident. And you'll know that he born on the 21st of November, so 8 days after the event, he would have turned 28. So at the time, he was 27, which is an outcome 9. Now, let's just look at 9. Now, because this is a negative event, I'm going to be looking at the negative aspects. And that 9 in his age talks about murder. Okay? Talks about murder, as well as the ideas around murder. Now, I saw some of these sleuths on Twitter that he had been making some posts on Reddit. And I must just say, the news that broke last night, very good news that there's someone been apprehended, but I don't believe we have the full picture. So if we look at his date of birth, the 11-2, the 21-3, the 5. Now, that 11-2 is all about justice, the law, doing the right thing, and that number has popped up many times with criminal cases. And in this case, propensity to break the law was definitely sitting with Bryan. I'll repeat that. The propensity to break the law, ironically, is sitting with Bryan, and we believe he was studying criminology. Now, that 11-2, if you take it on a positive aspect, criminology, bringing perps to justice, bringing people to court, that is all there in the 11-2. But if you look at the negative aspect, it is about breaking the law. And that 21-3, now, that 21-3 is also, I don't know, doesn't sit well with me either. There's a bit of the way it's sitting on his name as well as his date of birth brings about a negative aspect. And, the outcome of the day of the murders was a 3. So that pings on there. And then we have the 5. Now, the 5, if we look at it from a negative aspect, deception, deceit, we can even include narcissism. This is the kind of person, when you have that many 5s, because you can see there the second last line, 5 and 5, this guy cannot be trusted. He will lie to you, and he has no emotional aptitude as a normal human being would have, let's say. So this guy would be putting in the category of like a sociopath, a narcissist. He's definitely got the numbers for someone that would perpetrate this kind of crime. Very deceptive, not a nice person at all, with the outcome 1. Now, what's popped up in my mind when I heard about the news yesterday and just looking at it last night and this morning again, when you have an outcome 1, this is very much an individual. But what I'm getting to is I have a sneaky suspicion, and it keeps popping up psychically, and that is this may have been some kind of experiment. Okay? And I did, and I'm just being full disclosure, I did read a couple of tweets last night. This guy was writing how to leave a crime scene or how to plan this kind of thing. And I have a really good sense here that this is a situation where this guy was trying to commit the perfect crime. Now, the Idaho police on their press conference last night indicated and made it very clear that, of course, they can't reveal anything really about the case until Tuesday when he goes into court and the affidavit is released to the public. But I got a very sneaky sense here, and it keeps pinging, that this could have been a experiment of sorts, or a trial, like an experiment, to see if this guy can get away with a crime. Okay? As a little personal study of his own, and I know that sounds very disturbing, but when you got someone that has 11-2 and a 3 and a 5 are pretty much the worst numbers you want in a date of birth. Now, don't all run and look at your date of birth. This is within context of his name, middle name, last name, age, as well as his date of birth. In this sequence, in this context, to have 11-2 that breaks the law, 3 is the murderer, and it's ironic, yesterday was an outcome 3, and the event was an outcome 3, so this is pinging all over this guy. And with those 5s, what I'm not seeing here, to be honest, what I'm not seeing here, which would just clinch the deal here for me, is you want to see 6s and you want to see 8s. Now that's 6, and the reason why I say that is the 6 and the 8s are all about violence, aggression, extreme violence in the 8s, and I'm not seeing that in his date of birth. So on the flip side, and I do acknowledge Bryan is an outcome 6 and Kohberger is an outcome 8. So we do get the 6s and 8s there. But I would want to see them more in his date of birth or the outcome of his date of birth. Now we know on the actual day of the murder, November 13, we see the 6s there. That is extreme violence, guys. That is extreme violence. Huh? When you have that many 6s, it is aggression and violence on that day. I would say if when we're looking at Bryan's numbers, this was methodical, no emotions, and just outright evil. This guy, let's say 2 days ago, if you had to put me in a room with this guy, with his date of birth, with these numbers, I would walk away out that room immediately. I would not want to engage this person with these numbers. And the age, 9, I can tell you now, and I mentioned in the original video that I did on this case when it first broke, this was planned. And that 9 in his age tells me this was planned. So he built up a case where, and it would be interesting to know how he would have identified these people. So we'll hear what's his connection to these victims, as well as the motive. I'm sure will come out soon enough during the court trial or during the trial process. But this was definitely premeditated. He was definitely thinking about this for some time. And that is in the 9 of his age. Okay, that 9 is all about in the mind, planning, thinking, coming up with ideas, coming up with ways of doing this crime, for example. And I can tell you now, this is a bit of a narcissist. And I'll tell you, this guy feels zero emotions. Okay? Zero emotions in this guy. Although I suppose we can get some emotion from the 11-2, but in the main, this guy has no emotions. So what I'm saying here is, yes, this guy does have the propensity to break the law. He's a murderer, or let's say has the propensity for murder, and will do it in a heartbeat. And yeah, I've just picked up the word again, study. This was like a case study for this guy. This was a case study for this guy. But I'm still of the belief, based on my first reading, as well as what I'm seeing here in his numbers, there was definitely someone else involved here. I'm definitely believing there was definitely a second person involved based on the numbers and the image, as I mentioned earlier, with Zaina and Ethan. There was definitely someone else. There were 2 people at the bedside. There were definitely 2 people at the bedside. So I look forward to the Idaho police, who have done a fantastic job in conjunction with obviously the state troopers and the FBI, that they would catch this guy on the East Coast. And I mentioned in my video that the guy had left the area and would be caught. So kudos to the police force, but I'm still of the belief there is someone else involved here. Definitely someone else involved here. And, you know, I've been monitoring this case over as we've been going over the past 6 weeks. And I didn't want to create another video just for the sake of creating another video, but the exterior of the house where the crime's committed, at the back of the house, that sliding door, I picked up 2 negative energies, exterior door post-crime. Okay. Now, that is also a confirmation for myself that there was definitely 2 people involved. You know, when you commit a heinous crime like this, even if you're a narcissist, like this guy is, Bryan, there will be an energy release or like a relief post-event, because what also been bugging me is, how did they exit that scene? And more importantly, what did they do with the clothes or the outfits that they would have been wearing during the crime? Because if Bryan had planned this the way I feel he has, there would have been a plan to how we're going to dress up so we don't obviously omit DNA evidence on the scene, as well as then 1, covering up, and then 2, how do we dispose of that material post the event? And I've actually been trying to meditate over the past couple of weeks, but I'm just not getting that answer. You know, I thought let me focus on some aspects of the crime, like What did they do with the clothing post the event? And I believe the 2 energy bursts that I see outside the exterior of the house is where they derobed, or they took off what they were wearing and then left the crime scene. I'm definitely picking up 2 energy sources post-event exterior sliding door ground level at the back. So just as a quick summary, although Bryan has all the numbers that would indicate the propensity to commit a crime like this, I'm still of the belief there is someone else missing. And I know in the original video I mentioned there could be a silent third person. I'm still in the belief of that. And this case has not concluded as yet. I believe there's still going to be more revealed about this case and the involvement of others. And those others could also include online people who might have been keyboard warriors in the background helping to plan the case or plan the murder. But I do believe there were 2 physical people in that room beside Zaina and Ethan. So, yeah, I almost didn't want to do this video because I'm in the belief that it's incomplete. But I feel we should know who this Bryan is from at least a numerology point of view, that this guy is definitely a narcissist, capable of breaking the law quite easily, and just to suit himself or his needs or desires. And he would have felt 0 emotion during the event. So I'm going to leave this case open as it is. I still believe there is going to be more people involved here. And we're only getting started. All right, thank you for watching. And if you feel you would like to engage, you're more than welcome to leave your comments. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification icon for future updates. And thank you for watching. Stay safe and stay alert.